Question: what have you learned about rural people over the years that you didn't expect?
Not on the list. I suppose there's some pretty generic answers to that, but like you can never ever judge a book by its cover. Country people, I think in general, rural people can be quite frugal, but I think that's come from our history in the bush. Like we've gone through feast or famine. They enjoy the good times, but invariably they're dealing for the bad, prepping for the next tough period. We're probably changing over the generations, but I definitely think about our grandparents being quite frugal, particular with, food, money, how they operate. So if someone isn't dressed to the nines, you can't judge him or her.
No, exactly.
Because they might have 20,000 acres behind them, or the bloke who's dressed like the king might be up to his eyeballs in debt and know nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you've got to be very careful in that sense, I think.
As I mentioned before, there is a big part of the emotional side and the challenges that families go through. Like I always say about being an agent, I'd hate the weight of trying to sell someone's property that they've owned for 30 to 40 years. It's a legacy piece. It would be quite difficult. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and
the challenges that you've got to sort of overcome.
Yes, and in some ways somewhat different if you're dealing with a larger family scale business or a corporate or an institution. But if we're purely focusing on family farming, it may be their legacy, like it might be one generation's body of work, 2, 3, 4. So there's a lot of emotion tied up in that. And all the different stakeholders have all different emotions
and opinions and mindsets and intergenerational stuff like that. Yeah, do you see a lot of that? Like the younger generation,
which is really tough. And unfortunately, in our game, we often joke it's the 3Ds. Divorce, death, or dispute. In some instances, is why rural properties are sold.
Sold, yeah.
Yeah, so. Like we've done a couple of divorce sales recently, and they're particularly challenging. Like you've sort of course you've got to be professional at all times, and you've got to play it all with a straight bat. But it is challenging watching someone's world get flipped upside down.
Oh, it would be.
And you're trying to guide them through that sales process, which can be really unsettling and unnerving. Unlike selling a pen of steers, which can happen in an instant, be that out of the paddock, auctions pass at the sale yards, this can take, you can be lucky and you can jag a sale first day you're on the market. But it could take weeks, months, years, and there's a lot of anxiety tied into that. So
when you look at those 3Ds, are you sort of forward planning, going, right, this could be the outcome on this one? Do you navigate through that, or is it's just...
It definitely evolves. Like you've got to formulate a plan together. You've got to be working as a team, with your vendors and your vendors working with you. Yeah. Work as a team, outlay a plan and try and execute that plan.
Yeah, right.
But I think the biggest... the biggest challenge is, and where things break down, is when communication stops.
Right.
So that's the most important part of it, which is also the hardest part, that you've got to keep that communication flowing.
Is that between you and them?
Yeah.
Yeah, that constant sort of nurturing.
Yeah.
While they're experiencing such an emotional turmoil, essentially.
Yeah, that's right. So you've just got to keep the comms up, whether that message is good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah.
Which can be really challenging, and it's an emotional time for them, and so their emotions are pretty raw. So you can feel the effects of that.
Yeah,
for most part, for every bad person, there's 20 good people. But it's a challenging period of their life.
Yeah, exactly. What's sort of the emotional, excitement that you get when a family's been looking to sell their property for many, many years, and they're right at the pointy end of it, and they get a sale? Like, what's that feeling like for you as an agent?
Depending on what they're going through, like if they're really revved up, there's a real buzz and a real excitement. But a lot of times there can be a sense of relief. and you can probably feel that and mirror
definitely.
that to a certain extent.
You'd create long-term relationships too, wouldn't you? Because
Yeah,
for yourself, they'd always ring up and go, "Hey, how are you?" Or, do you ever check in with them after a year or two of the sale? And
absolutely. You definitely try to, and you connect. Different personalities connect better than others.
Yeah, correct.
But yeah, it's such a strange thing that you go from. In a lot of instances, you probably know the vendors, in a prior life, but in a lot of times you don't, and then you go into bat together, and it's not like going to war, but it sort of is, so to speak. Like you're in the trenches, roll the sleeves up together, and it's pretty hard and fast for a period of time, and then the property sells, and then you don't. Like it's such a fast forward relationship, and then you're off.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
This is another question that was in there, but you're opening up a heap. Is when I always look from the outside in, looking at agents, I always think, how do they find the energy long term to always be listing a property, showing people through it, and then 6 months, 12 months down the track, you've done all this work and you can't get a sale. What's the motivator behind you to keep that ticker? Because I've seen some old agents, and I get it. Like, the longer you're in the industry, the more you're tired of it, right? So what's the motivator for you, and how do you keep that spark going?
We talk about it at work. You got to maintain the rage.
Maintain the rage. I like that.